Taemin Kang adjusted his fake identification badge and walked through the golden gates of Caltheron Prime's royal palace. His heart raced, but his face showed nothing except calm confidence. The guards barely looked at him. They saw what they expected to see. Another boring human diplomat from Earth, here to discuss trade agreements and peace treaties. They had no idea he was a thief. The palace stretched high into the purple sky, its walls made of some crystal material that seemed to glow from within. Alien nobles walked past him, their skin shimmering in colors humans didn't have names for. Some had extra arms, others had eyes that moved independently. Taemin had seen stranger things in his years traveling the galaxy, but the Caltheron always made him feel like a child who wandered into a king's treasure room. Good. Let them think humans were simple. It made stealing from them easier. His earpiece crackled. "You're crazy, you know that?" Yuna's voice came through, sharp with worry. She was back on their ship, monitoring his vital signs and the palace security systems. "The Caltheron banned humans from the archives for a reason. If they catch you, they won't," Taemin whispered, pretending to admire a statue. "I'm charming. You're an idiot." He grinned. Yuna had been his co-pilot for 5 years, and she still hadn't learned that calling him an idiot only encouraged him. The state banquet started at sunset. Taemin found himself seated at a table with minor diplomats and trade officials, exactly as planned. The food looked like art-delicate spirals of something that tasted like honey and starlight. He ate carefully, watching the head table where the Caltheron Emperor sat with his family. That's when he saw her. Princess Narivel Caltheron sat 3 seats from her father, looking bored. While other royals wore elaborate costumes that probably cost more than Taemin's ship, she wore a simple silver dress. Her skin had a faint blue tint, and her eyes were too large, too knowing. She was reading something on a data tablet, instead of talking to the nobles around her. Taemin had studied her file. 3rd daughter, keeper of the royal archives, expert in ancient civilizations. More importantly, she had the access codes he needed. He didn't plan to talk to her tonight. Too risky. But then, she looked up from her tablet, and her eyes locked directly onto his, across the crowded hall. She knew. Taemin's blood went cold. He'd been made. He should run. Get back to the ship. Abort the mission. Instead, he raised his wine glass to her in a small salute. If she was going to call the guards, might as well be memorable about it. Princess Nari's expression didn't change. She stood, excused herself from the table, and walked toward the garden doors. "Taemin, what's happening?" Yuna's voice crackled in his ear. "Your heart rate just spiked. Change of plans," he muttered. "I'm going to talk to the princess." "What?" He followed Nari into the gardens before Yuna could talk sense into him. The palace gardens were beautiful in a way that made Earth's parks look like weeds. Trees with leaves that chimed like bells swayed in the breeze. Flowers glowed softly, lighting the paths. And there, standing by a fountain that flowed upward instead of down, was Princess Nari. "You're not a diplomat," she said without turning around. Her voice was softer than he expected. Musical. "Sure I am," Taemin said, walking closer. "I'm here to discuss mutual cultural exchange. You're here to steal the infinite key from my archives." Now she turned, and those large violet eyes studied him like he was one of her ancient artifacts. "The question is why? Earth doesn't need that kind of power. You already have enough weapons to destroy yourselves 3 times over." Taemin hesitated. He'd prepared lies for this conversation, but something about her direct stare made them die in his throat. "You're right," he said finally. "We have plenty of weapons, but we don't have enough defense. The Viridian Armada is coming, and they have technology we can't match. There's a vault on Mars, human ancestors built it. Or maybe someone older. We don't know. But it won't open. The infinite key can unlock it. And you think this vault contains something that will save your people? I think it's our only shot." Nari looked at him for a long moment. "The infinite key is forbidden for good reason. The last species who used it destroyed themselves. It amplifies what you already are. For humans," she paused. "Humans don't know when to stop. You climb mountains because they're there. You split atoms to see what happens. You start wars over ideas. The key will take all that reckless energy and multiply it until it burns you from the inside. Maybe, Taman admitted. But we're pretty good at not knowing when to quit. That's not a virtue, isn't it? He stepped closer, close enough to see the concern in her alien features. Your people used to explore, used to take risks. I've read the histories, but then something scared you, and you stopped. You locked away anything dangerous and decided safety was better than discovery. How's that working out? When was the last time your empire actually grew, actually created something new instead of just protecting what you already have? Nari's jaw tightened. We survive. That's more than most species can say. Surviving isn't living, princess. And dying gloriously isn't noble, thief. They stared at each other, the argument hanging in the air between them. Finally, Nari sighed. You're going to try to steal it anyway, aren't you? No matter what I say. Yep, you'll die in the attempt. The archives have defenses you can't imagine. Probably. And you don't care. Taman shrugged. 5 billion people live in Earth's outer colonies. The Viridian Armada will reach them in 3 weeks. If I die trying to save them, at least I die doing something that matters. Better than dying in bed, old and safe, and wondering what if. Nari turned away from him, looking at the upward-flowing fountain. When she spoke again, her voice was almost too quiet to hear. I've spent my whole life studying dead civilizations. Species who took too many risks and paid the price. Species who took too few risks and stagnated into extinction. I thought I understood the balance. But standing here, listening to you describe suicide as purpose, she shook her head. I don't know if you're brave or insane. Can't I be both? She laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Get out of here, Taman Kang. Enjoy the banquet. Forget about the infinite key and go home. That's my advice as keeper of the archives. And if I don't take that advice? Nari was silent for a long moment. Then she walked past him, heading back to the palace. But as she passed, she whispered so softly he almost missed it. Sector 7. Third vault. Tuesday night. Guards change at midnight. Then she was gone, leaving Taman standing alone in the garden, wondering if he'd just been helped or trapped by an alien princess who apparently had her own rebellious streak. Did you get that? He whispered to Yuna. Every word. Taman, you can't trust her. I know. This is obviously a trap. Probably. And you're going anyway. Taman smiled in the darkness, watching the strange alien stars wheel overhead. Definitely. Back in his quarters that night, Taman stared at the ceiling and thought about Princess Nari's warning. The infinite key was dangerous. It had destroyed civilizations. Using it might destroy humanity too, but not using it meant watching 5 billion people die. Some choices weren't really choices at all. He just hoped he was making the right kind of mistake. Tuesday night came faster than Taman expected. He spent 2 days pretending to be a boring diplomat, attending meetings about trade routes and mineral rights. The whole time, his mind was on the plan. Yuna thought he was walking into a trap. Minho, their tech specialist who stayed on the ship, calculated their chances of success at 18%. Taman had survived worse odds. At 11:45, he slipped out of his diplomatic quarters. He'd mapped every security camera, every guard patrol, every sensor in this section of the palace. The Kaltharon were thorough, but they were also predictable. They followed patterns. Humans, Taman thought with a grin, were much better at chaos. Sector 7 was deep in the palace, far from where visitors normally went. The corridors here were older, the walls covered in symbols that hurt to look at too long. Taman's datapad beeped softly as it detected quantum locks, energy barriers, and at least 3 types of traps he didn't have names for. This is insane, Yuna whispered through his earpiece. Even with the princess's information, you can't. The lights went out. Taman froze in the darkness, his hand moving to the plasma cutter on his belt. Then emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Alarms should have been screaming. Guards should have been running. But the corridor stayed silent. Someone had shut down the security grid. That wasn't me, Minho said, confusion clear in his voice. Someone else is in the system. Taemin knew who. The question was why. He found her in the third vault, exactly where she'd told him. Princess Nari stood in front of a pillar of light, her hands moving over controls that responded to her touch. She wore dark clothing instead of her royal dress, and her hair was tied back. She looked less like a princess and more like someone ready to run. "You came," she said without turning around. "You didn't sound the alarm," Taemin replied, staying near the door. "This could still be a trap." "Why?" "Because I've been thinking about what you said. About survival versus living." She finally looked at him, and in the red emergency lights, her face looked almost human. Almost. "I've spent 28 years in this palace, studying civilizations that died thousands of years ago. I know everything about people I'll never meet, places I'll never see, and I realize something. I'm already dead. I'm just a ghost who hasn't stopped breathing yet. So this is what? A rebellion? A princess running away from home? This is me choosing to do something that matters." She gestured at the pillar of light. Inside it, suspended in some kind of energy field, was a small crystal device. It looked simple, almost boring. "That's the infinite key. I can get it out. I know the codes. But I need something from you first." "What?" "Take me with you." Taemin stared at her. "You want to come to Earth? To help us fight a war? I want to see if your reckless human optimism actually works. I want to know if taking crazy risks can save people instead of just killing them." She stepped closer. "And yes, I want to leave this palace. I want to matter. Your family will survive without me. I'm the third daughter. Unha will take over the archives. The empire will continue." Her voice went softer. "But I'll never get another chance to be more than just a keeper of dead things." Taemin should have said no. This was already complicated enough without adding a runaway alien princess. But he looked at her face and saw something he recognized. Desperation. The need to prove you were more than what everyone expected. "Okay," he said. "But Yuna's going to kill me." Nari smiled. It looked strange on her alien features, but genuine. "I suspect your friend will understand more than you think." She turned back to the controls and began entering commands. "I need to tell you something about the infinite key. My people's histories don't tell the full truth. The key doesn't just unlock doors. It unlocks potential. It takes what you are and amplifies it. For my people, who value caution and planning, it made us paranoid. We saw threats everywhere. We eventually locked the key away because we were afraid of our own shadows. What happened to the species before you? The Velhiri were conquerors. The key made them need to conquer. They didn't stop at planets or systems. They tried to conquer other dimensions. It broke reality around them." She paused, her hands hovering over the controls. "Please don't take it, Taemin. Humans are already reckless, already stubborn, already willing to fight impossible odds. What happens when you amplify that? What happens when you can't back down, can't compromise, can't stop? We save 5 billion people," Taemin said quietly. "Or we die, trying." "That's what I was afraid you'd say." She finished the command sequence. The energy field around the key flickered and died. Nari reached in and took the crystal device. It was smaller than Taemin's hand, glowing with a soft blue light. She held it out to him, but didn't let go when he grabbed it. "Promise me something." "What?" "Promise that if this starts to change you, if you feel yourself becoming something terrible, you'll destroy it. And yourself, if necessary." "That's a dark promise, princess." "That's a necessary promise, thief." Taemin met her eyes. "I promise." She let go of the key. The moment it touched his palm fully, Taemin felt something. A warmth that spread up his arm, into his chest. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely there. Alive, aware. "We need to move," Nari said. "I shut down the security grid, but it'll reboot in 10 minutes. After that, Alarms exploded throughout the palace. Or it could reboot early, Nari finished. Run. They ran. Behind them, doors slammed shut. Energy barriers flickered to life. The palace's defense system was waking up, and it was angry. Taemin's datapad screamed warnings as sensors locked onto their position. Yuna, he shouted. We're blown. Need immediate extraction. Already on it. Yuna's voice came back. But Taemin, the Caltheron fleet is mobilizing. Every ship in orbit is powering weapons. We've got maybe 5 minutes before this whole planet becomes a shooting gallery. They burst into a large chamber, and Taemin's heart sank. 20 Caltheron guards waited, their weapons raised, and standing in front of them was an old male with skin like weathered stone and eyes that glowed white. High Priest Hajun, Nari breathed. Please, let us pass, Princess. The old Caltheron's voice was deep as earthquakes. You have committed treason. Give me the key, and I will speak for mercy at your trial. No trial, Nari said, standing straighter. I'm leaving. With him. With a human? Hajun looked at Taemin with disgust. Their kind brings only chaos. This proves it. Princess, your father will forgive you, but the human must face justice. The human has a name, Taemin said, pulling out his plasma cutter. It looked pathetic compared to the guards' weapons. And the human is leaving. With the princess and the key, you cannot escape. There are 20 guards between you and freedom. 21, counting you. Taemin felt the key pulse in his pocket. That warmth was spreading. He felt faster, sharper, more aware. Want to know the difference between humans and Caltheron? You calculate odds. We make our own luck. He threw a flash charge. In the blinding light, he grabbed Nari's hand and ran. Not toward the exit, that's what they'd expect. Instead, he ran toward the massive window that overlooked the city. Trust me, he shouted. This is insane, Nari shouted back. I know. They jumped through the window just as the guards opened fire. Glass exploded around them. They fell through purple sky. The city lights spinning below them. Taemin triggered his emergency beacon, hoping Yuna was as good as she claimed. The ship's tractor beam caught them 50 meters from becoming street art. They materialized in the cargo bay, both breathing hard. Yuna stood there, hands on hips, glaring. You jumped out of a window. You jumped out of a window. With an alien princess. Yuna. Meet Princess Nari. Taemin gasped. Nari. Meet my very angry co-pilot. Your very angry co-pilot who just saved your stupid life. But Yuna was already running to the cockpit. Strap in. The entire Caltheron fleet is after us. The ship shook as energy blasts hit the shields. Minho's voice came over the intercom. Hyperdrive needs 2 minutes to charge. We don't have 2 minutes, Yuna shouted back. Taemin felt the key pulse again. Without thinking, he pulled it out. The crystal was glowing brighter now. He could feel it trying to tell him something. Trying to show him patterns in the chaos. What are you doing? Nari asked, fear clear in her voice. Something stupid, Taemin said. He closed his eyes and let the key show him the answer. There, a gap in the fleet's formation, a path through the orbital defenses. It would require flying through the planet's atmosphere, through a debris field, and between 2 capital ships with less than 5 meters clearance. Impossible. Perfect. Yuna, he shouted. Follow my vector. Taemin? Trust me. She did. The ship dove into the atmosphere, heat shields screaming. They flew through clouds of debris that should have shredded them. But Taemin called out adjustments at the last possible second. Left, right, up, roll. The key showed him possibilities, and he chose the craziest ones. They shot between the capital ships so close that Taemin could see the shocked faces of Caltheron crew members. Then they were clear, and the hyperdrive engaged, and the stars stretched into lines. They'd escaped. In the cargo bay, Taemin collapsed. Nari knelt beside him. You used the key. Just a little. That's how it starts. But she smiled sadly. Thank you for not leaving me behind. Thank you for not letting me die in your archives. We're even then. Not even close, Princess. The ship raced toward Earth, toward war, toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the Caltheron Empire mobilized. Ahead of them, the Viridian Armada waited, and in Taemon's pocket, the infinite key pulsed softly, patient and hungry. The ship jumped through 5-star systems in 3 days, and the Caltheron fleet followed like a shadow. Nari sat in the cargo bay most of the time, quiet and withdrawn. She'd committed treason, betrayed her entire species for a human she barely knew, and a hope that felt smaller with each passing hour. Yuna brought her food on the second day. You okay? I ruined my life for this, Nari said, staring at the plain rations. And I don't even know if it'll work. Welcome to being human, Yuna said, sitting down across from her. We do that a lot. Ruin perfectly good lives chasing dreams that'll probably fail. How do you live like that? With all that uncertainty? Yuna shrugged. Same way you breathe. You just do it. Taemon once told me that if you wait for guaranteed success, you never start anything worth doing. She paused. He's an idiot, but he's not wrong. Nari smiled slightly. I'm starting to think all humans are idiots. Now you're getting it. On the third day, Taemon found Nari in the observation deck, watching stars streak past in hyperspace. He sat beside her, silent for a while. Finally, he spoke. Yuna says you're having regrets. Yuna talks too much. That's fair. Taemon pulled out a datapad. Want to hear something interesting? I've been studying your histories, the ones you keep in the archives. I know my own history, Taemon. Do you? Because I found something weird. About 3,000 years ago, the Caltheron were explorers. You went everywhere. Tried everything. You had colonies and systems your people don't even remember now. Then, something happened. Something that scared you so badly that you pulled back, locked down, decided safety was better than discovery. He showed her the datapad. But there's no record of what that something was, like someone erased it from history. Nari looked at the pad, frowning. I never noticed that gap, because you weren't looking for it. You were taught that caution was always your way. But it wasn't. Your people used to be risk-takers, used to be more like humans. He looked at her. Maybe that's why you helped me, not because you were being reckless. Because you were remembering who your people used to be. That's a romantic theory, thief. Better than thinking you threw away your life for nothing, princess. They sat together, watching the stars. After a while, Nari spoke again. Tell me about Earth, about your home. So Taemon told her stories. About cities that reached into clouds. About oceans that covered half the planet. About mountains climbers died on just to say they'd reached the top. About people who built machines to touch the stars, even though it seemed impossible. We fell from trees, he said, using words he'd told her before. Literally. Humans used to live in trees. Then we came down, started walking upright, and decided we weren't done climbing. So we climbed higher, kept climbing. We nearly killed ourselves 100 times. Wars. Plagues. Our own stupidity. But we kept going. That's what humans do. We don't quit. That's not courage, Nari argued, but softer this time. That's stubbornness. What's the difference? She didn't have an answer. The alarm interrupted them. Yuna's voice came over the intercom. We've got company. Big company. They rushed to the cockpit. On the view screen, ships were dropping out of hyperspace. Lots of ships. The Caltheron fleet had caught up, and they'd brought friends. Nari's breath caught when she saw the lead ship, a royal cruiser with gold markings. That's my sister's ship, she whispered. Unha is here. Can you talk to her? Taemon asked. Make her understand? She won't listen. She thinks I've been kidnapped or brainwashed. She thinks she's saving me. Nari's voice broke slightly. She doesn't understand that I saved myself. The comm system crackled. A female voice came through, speaking the musical Caltheron language. Nari closed her eyes and responded. The conversation was short and sharp. When she ended the call, Nari looked defeated. She wants me to surrender. Says if I come peacefully, they'll only exile me instead of execution. She says the human will be tried fairly, which means death. Taman said, Yes. What did you tell her? I told her I'm exactly where I want to be. She didn't take it well. The Kaltharon fleet opened fire. Not to kill, the shots were careful, targeting engines and shields but avoiding the crew sections. They wanted the ship disabled, not destroyed. They were trying to save Nari. Minho, Yuna shouted. I need more power to the rear shields. Working on it. Minho's voice came back strained. But we can't take much more of this. Taman felt the key pulse in his pocket. It was calling to him, offering to show him the patterns again. The way out. He reached for it. Nari grabbed his wrist. No. Every time you use it, it gets stronger. Every time, it changes you a little more. I can see it. Your eyes flash when you use it. Your movements become too fast. You're becoming something else. Then what do we do? Surrender? No. Nari let go of his wrist. We run. The old-fashioned way. Through skill and luck and hope. Another voice came over the comm. Male, older. With authority that needed no introduction. This is Commander Siwu of Earth's Outer Fleet. All Kaltharon vessels, cease fire immediately. 3 human ships dropped out of hyperspace, placing themselves between the smaller vessel and the Kaltharon fleet. They were military ships, bristling with weapons, outgunned and outnumbered, but there anyway. Siwu? Taman breathed. What's he doing here? Saving your life, apparently, Yuna said. Commander Siwu continued speaking, calm and professional. The vessel you're pursuing carries a diplomatic envoy and critical cargo for Earth's defense. Any further hostile action will be considered an act of war. He's lying, Nari said. I'm not a diplomat, and your mission isn't official. He knows that, Taman replied. He's buying us time to escape, but it'll cost him. The Earth government won't back his story. He'll be branded a deserter, court-martialed. Why would he do that? Because he's my friend. Because he knows what's at stake. Taman's voice was rough. Because humans look out for each other. Even when it's stupid. The standoff lasted 5 long minutes. Then the Kaltharon fleet pulled back. But not because they were afraid. Because they were smart. They'd follow at a distance. Wait for a better opportunity. This wasn't over. Commander Siwu's ship pulled alongside. Taman, I'm transferring extra fuel and shield components. You need to reach Mars. Fast. The Viridian Armada reached the outer colonies yesterday. We're holding them, but barely. We've lost 15 planets already. Millions dead. Siwu, you didn't have to do this. Your career is worth less than 5 billion lives. Get to Mars. Open that vault. Save our people. A pause. And Taman? Don't make me regret this. The ships separated. Commander Siwu's small fleet stayed behind to slow the Kaltharon pursuit, giving the smaller ship time to jump again. As they entered hyperspace, Taman watched the battle begin on sensors. 3 ships against an entire fleet. He's going to die, Nari said quietly. Probably. And you're going to blame yourself. Definitely. This is what humans do? Sacrifice themselves for each other? Taman looked at her, and for the first time, she saw the weight he carried. This is what we do when it matters. When the choice is between living safely or saving someone else, we choose someone else. It's not smart. It's not logical. But it's who we are. Nari was quiet for a long time. Then, the Viridian Armada killed millions. The Kaltharon fleet is after us. Commander Siwu is sacrificing his ships. All of this because of a crystal in your pocket that might not even work. She looked at him. Why do you still have hope? Because hope is all we've ever had. Humans have always been outgunned, outnumbered, outthought by someone. But we're still here. Still fighting. Still climbing. He smiled. that cocky smile that made her want to hit him and follow him at the same time. Besides, what's the alternative? Give up? Where's the fun in that? You're insane. Yeah. But I'm your kind of insane now, princess. She laughed, and realized it was the first time she'd really laughed since leaving home. Maybe Taman was right. Maybe hope was enough. The ship raced on toward Mars. Behind them, Commander Siwoo's fleet fought a delaying action they couldn't win. Ahead of them, Earth's colonies burned under Viridian weapons, and in Taman's pocket, the infinite key pulsed steadily, counting down to something none of them fully understood. They reached Earth's solar system on the 5th day. Mars hung red and dusty in the view screen, holding secrets older than human civilization. Somewhere beneath Olympus Mons was the vault. The answers, maybe salvation, or maybe just another way to die. This is it, Taman said, looking at the planet. Last chance to back out, Nari. You've already lost everything because of me. You don't have to risk your life too. Nari thought about her sister, chasing her across the stars. About her father, who probably wanted her dead for treason. About the archives she'd spent her life protecting, now forever closed to her. She thought about Commander Siwoo, dying to buy them time. About 5 billion humans she'd never met, waiting to see if a stolen crystal could save them. She thought about Taman, this reckless human who jumped out of windows and believed impossible things might work. I'm already here, she said. Might as well see how it ends. That's the spirit, sort of. The ship dove toward Mars, toward whatever waited beneath ancient stone. Behind them, sensors picked up new contacts. The Caltheron fleet had entered the solar system. The chase was almost over. One way or another, everything would be decided soon. The Mars research facility looked like it had been through a war. Blast marks scarred the walls. Half the equipment lay broken. Dr. Hana Lim met them at the entrance, exhaustion written across her face like a scar. You're the thief who stole the infinite key, she said to Taman. Not a question. And you're the alien princess who helped him. She looked at Nari. Everyone in the galaxy is looking for you both. We know, Taman said. How much time do we have? The Viridian Armada will reach Earth's core colonies in 18 hours. The Caltheron fleet is in orbit now, demanding your surrender. So I'd say we have approximately no time at all. Doctor. Hana turned and started walking deeper into the facility. Follow me. And try not to touch anything. The vault's defenses have killed 3 of my researchers already. They descended into tunnels cut from Martian rock. Ancient tunnels. The walls had symbols that hurt to look at, just like the ones in the Caltheron Palace. Nari ran her fingers over them. These markings, she whispered. They're similar to ones I've seen in the archives. From civilizations that existed millions of years before my people. Someone built something here long before humans evolved, Doctor, Hana said. We've been trying to open it for 20 years. Every method we try either fails or triggers defenses that nearly kill us. We've lost 12 people trying to get inside. And you think the infinite key will work? Taman asked. I think it's our last option. So yes, I'm betting 5 billion lives on a maybe. She stopped in front of a massive door. It wasn't metal or stone. It looked like solidified light, shifting colors that didn't exist in normal space. That's the vault. Whatever's inside has been waiting a very long time. Taman pulled out the infinite key. It was glowing brighter now, pulsing in rhythm with the door. He stepped forward. Nari grabbed his arm. Wait. Once you use it on something this big, this old, there's no going back. The key will bond with you fully. You'll see things differently. Think differently. You might not be human anymore when this is done. I stopped being fully human the moment I picked it up, Taman said. He could feel it now, always present in his mind, showing him patterns, possibilities, connections. But I can still choose what to do with what I'm becoming. That's still human, right? He didn't wait for an answer. He pressed the key against the door. Light exploded through the tunnel. Not painful, but overwhelming. Taman saw every lock, every defense, every quantum entanglement that held the door closed. The key showed him not just how to open them, but how they worked, why they existed, what they were protecting, and it showed him the price for opening them. The door slid open like it had been waiting for this exact moment. Beyond it was a chamber so large it shouldn't fit inside the mountain. Columns of light stretched upward into darkness. Floating in the center was a sphere of pure information, data compressed into physical form, flickering with the collected knowledge of species that died before Earth's sun was born. Blessed stars, Dr. Hana breathed. It's beautiful. Taman walked forward, the key guiding his steps. When he touched the sphere, information flooded into his mind. Technologies, histories, warnings. The accumulated wisdom of 12 extinct species, all stored here waiting for someone to find it. And there, buried in the data, was what he came for: schematics for a defense grid. Something that could shield Earth from the Viridian weapons. Something that could actually save 5 billion people. But there was a catch. There was always a catch. The grid requires a constant power source, Taman said, his voice distant as he processed the information. Not batteries or reactors. A consciousness. Someone has to merge with the system. Become part of it. Their mind provides the processing power to maintain the shields across multiple planets. Let me guess, Yuna said from behind him. Whoever merges with it can't ever leave. Worse. Their individual consciousness dissolves over time. They become the grid. Nothing more. Taman turned to face them, and his eyes were glowing faintly blue. It's a sacrifice play, always was. The species who built this wanted to make sure whoever used it understood the cost. Then we find another way, Nari said immediately. We don't murder you to save others. That's not how this works. 5 billion people, Nari. 5 billion lives against one. No. She walked up to him, anger and fear mixing in her expression. You don't get to be a martyr. We came this far together. We find a solution together. An alarm blared through the facility. Doctor, Hannah checked her comm device. The Caltheron fleet is demanding entry. They're threatening to destroy the facility if we don't surrender you both in 10 minutes. And the Viridian Armada? Taman asked. 16 hours now. They've accelerated their attack schedule. Something moved in the darkness beyond the sphere. A shape coalesced from the shadows, humanoid but not human. Not physical. A projection of light and thought. I am the architect, it said, its voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. Caretaker of this vault, observer of species, I have waited 3 million years for someone to arrive with the infinite key. You're an AI, Nari said. From whoever built this place. I am what remains. My creators are dust. But their knowledge lives. The architect gestured to the sphere. You seek the defense grid. I can activate it. But as you've discovered, the cost is high. One consciousness to save billions. Who will pay? Taman stepped forward. I will. No. Nari moved between him and the architect. There has to be another way. Your creators were brilliant. They wouldn't make a system with only one solution. The architect tilted its head, studying her. Interesting. A Caltheron, arguing for human survival. Your species has declared this human a criminal. Yet you defend him. I'm defending what's right, Nari said. There's always another way. Every civilization you've studied, every species that died, they failed because they saw only one path. Taman taught me that. Humans are reckless and stupid, but they're also creative. They find ways that shouldn't exist. And what way do you propose, Caltheron princess? Nari looked at Taman, then at the key in his hand, then back at the architect. An idea was forming. A crazy, impossible idea that only a human would try. Except she wasn't human. She was something else now. Something changed by exposure to human recklessness. What if two minds merged with the grid? She asked. One human, one Caltheron. Combining different perspectives, different ways of thinking. Would that work? The architect was silent for a long moment. No species has ever attempted such a thing. The differences in neural structure, in thought patterns, would create conflicts. The grid might collapse, or the minds might destroy each other. Or, Taman said slowly, understanding where Nari was going, the differences might complement each other. Human recklessness balanced by Kaltharan caution. Quick decisions tempered by careful planning. Two incomplete perspectives, making one complete system. You're both insane, Yuna said. This is a terrible plan. Got a better one? Taman asked. Silence. Thought not. He turned to Nari. You sure about this, princess? If we do this, we might lose ourselves. Become something that's neither human nor Kaltharan. We might, Nari agreed. Or we might become something better, something new. She took his hand. Besides, you've been changing me since the moment we met, teaching me to take risks, to hope for impossible things. Might as well take it all the way. The Vault's AI said it might not work. When has that ever stopped you? Taman laughed. Fair point. He looked at the architect. Can you do it? Merge both of us with the grid? The architect studied them for another long moment. I will attempt it. But understand, if this fails, you both die. If it succeeds, you may lose everything that makes you individuals. This is not a small choice. Nothing important ever is, Taman said. Dr. Hana stepped forward. Wait. Just wait a second. You're talking about destroying yourselves. Becoming machines. There has to be. There isn't. Nari interrupted gently. We've looked at the data. This is the only solution that might work in time. The Viridian Armada won't wait while we search for better options. Then let me do it, Dr. Hannah said. I'm old. I've had my life. You're both young. We have the infinite key, Taman said. And apparently, that's what the system needs. Some kind of quantum resonance. It has to be us. Another alarm. 7 minutes until the Kaltharan fleet attacked. Taman, Yuna said, her voice breaking. Don't do this. Please. You're my best friend. I can't lose you. You won't lose me. He hugged her. I'll still be here. Just different. And hey, at least you won't have to listen to my terrible jokes anymore. Your jokes are the worst part of you, Yuna said, crying now. Don't you dare take that away from me. They held each other for a moment longer. Then Taman stepped back and took Nari's hand again. Together, they walked to the sphere. Ready? He asked. Absolutely not, Nari replied. Let's do it anyway. The architect raised its arms. Light flooded from the sphere, wrapping around Taman and Nari like threads of pure information. The infinite key exploded with power, linking them to the ancient technology, to each other, to something vast and old and patient. Taman felt his consciousness expanding. He could feel Nari's thoughts mixing with his own, could feel the defense grid spreading across Mars, reaching toward Earth, toward the colonies, could feel millions of calculations happening in what used to be his mind, and through it all, he felt Nari's presence, scared but determined, changing but still herself. Still the princess who chose adventure over safety. Is this working? He thought or said. He couldn't tell the difference anymore. I don't know, Nari's thoughts answered. But we're still us. Still separate. The architect was wrong. We're not destroying each other. We're holding each other up. The defense grid activated. Shields bloomed around Earth's colonies, shimmering barriers that bent physics. The Viridian weapons hit them and scattered harmlessly. 5 billion people, saved in an instant. But Taman and Nari were still there, still aware, not dissolved, not gone. Different. Yes. Changed forever, certainly. How? The architect's voice came, filled with something that might have been wonder. No species has ever maintained individual consciousness while merged with the system. How are you doing this? And Nari, speaking with Taman's voice, or maybe the other way around, answered, because we trust each other. Because we chose this together. Because sometimes, the impossible just needs someone reckless enough to try it. The defense grid held. Above Earth, the Viridian Armada's weapons splashed against shields that shouldn't exist, that bent the laws of physics through sheer determination and the merged consciousness of two people who refused to accept failure. Admiral G1 Park watched from her command ship, tears streaming down her weathered face, as colony after colony reported the same thing. Shields holding. Civilian casualties 0. Impossible, made real. How? She whispered. How are they doing this? On Mars, in the ancient vault, Taman and Nari existed in a state that had no name. They were separate but connected, individual but merged. They could feel each other's thoughts, but they were still themselves. It shouldn't work. The architect had said it was impossible. But then, humans specialized in impossible things. The Viridian fleet is pulling back. Taman's voice said, though it came from Nari's mouth. Or maybe both. They're confused, scared. They don't understand what's happening. We should reach out to them, Nari's thoughts said through Taman's awareness. Show them we're not attacking. Just defending. Together, they extended their consciousness through the grid. It was easier than breathing. The merged mind reached across space, touched the Viridian command ship, and spoke directly into their leader's mind. Why are you afraid? They asked. Not threatening, just curious. The Viridian commander responded with shock, then anger, then finally, exhausted honesty. We're dying. Our star is dying. We need resources. New worlds. We came to take yours because we have no choice. But you do have a choice. The merged consciousness said. And through the infinite key, through the ancient knowledge stored in the vault, they showed the Viridians something else. Technology for terraforming dead worlds. Methods for extending dying stars. Solutions that didn't require war. This knowledge. Where did it come from? From 12 species who died so others wouldn't have to. From humans who decided to share instead of hoard. From a Caltheron princess who chose trust over caution. From the belief that the universe is big enough for everyone if we stop fighting over scraps. The Viridian fleet held position. Not retreating, not attacking, just waiting, thinking. Meanwhile, the Caltheron fleet descended toward Mars. Nari's sister, Princess Unha, led the landing party personally. She entered the vault with weapons drawn, ready to rescue her sister from whatever madness had taken her. She found Nari standing in a pillar of light, eyes glowing, connected to something vast. Standing beside her, in another pillar, was the human thief who'd stolen everything. They held hands across the gap between pillars, and they were smiling. Sister, Unha breathed. What have you done? Something wonderful, Nari said. And it was her own voice. Not the merged consciousness. Still herself. Something your people forgot how to do. I took a risk. You destroyed yourself for them, for humans. No. I saved myself by refusing to let fear make my choices. Nari gestured around the chamber. The vault contains knowledge from 12 extinct civilizations. Technologies that could help our empire, medical advances, agricultural methods, solutions to problems we've been struggling with for centuries. And the humans are willing to share it. All of it. Free. Why would they do that? Taman's consciousness flickered into awareness, speaking through the light. Because holding on to knowledge while people die is just slow murder. Because we're tired of wars over things that should belong to everyone. Because maybe if we prove we're not the reckless monsters you think we are, you'll stop treating us like threats and start seeing us as neighbors. Lord Do-hyun, the Caltheron military commander, stepped forward from behind Yunha. This is a trick. Humans don't share. They take. Some do, Taman admitted. Just like some Caltheron are paranoid, and some are brave. Like your princess here, who committed treason to save billions of people she'd never met. Species aren't good or bad. Individuals make choices. And right now, Nari and I are choosing to trust that you'll make the right one. The standoff lasted for 5 heartbeats. Then Yunha lowered her weapon. "Show me," she said. "Show me this knowledge you're offering." The merged consciousness expanded, pulling Yunha, Dohyun, Dr. Hana, Yuna, and everyone in the chamber into a shared vision. They saw the vault's treasures, saw technologies that could heal worlds, saw the history of species who failed because they chose isolation over cooperation, saw a future where 3 civilizations, human, Caltheron, and Viridian, built something better together. When the vision faded, Unha was crying. "Sister, I didn't understand. Forgive me." "Nothing to forgive," Nari said. "You were protecting your people. That's noble. But protection through walls eventually becomes a prison. I needed to escape. And I needed a reckless human to show me how." 3 days later, representatives from all 3 civilizations gathered on Mars. The Viridian Armada parked in orbit. Weapons powered down. The Caltheron fleet stood guard, no longer hostile. And in the ancient vault, Taman and Nari began the impossible task of teaching others how to access the stored knowledge without triggering the defenses that had killed so many. But something unexpected was happening. The merged consciousness that powered the defense grid was beginning to separate. Slowly, carefully, Taman and Nari were becoming distinct again. The architect watched with something that might have been amazement. "This was not predicted," it said. "Every simulation showed that merged consciousness becomes permanent, that individuals lose themselves entirely. Yet you remain. Both of you. How?" "Because we chose to stay ourselves," Taman said, his voice now clearly his own again. "The other species that used the grid, they probably feared losing their identity. That fear made it happen. We accepted that we might change, but we didn't let the change erase who we were. We held on to each other." "Impossible," the architect said, but it sounded pleased about being wrong. On the 7th day, Taman and Nari stepped out of the pillars of light. The defense grid was stable now, powered by the ancient systems rather than their consciousness. They'd found a way to make it self-sustaining, using principles from 6 different extinct civilizations. They'd done what everyone said was impossible. They'd survived. Taman stumbled when his feet hit solid ground. His legs barely remembered how to work. Nari caught him, and they held each other. Just breathing. Just being alive, and separate, and themselves. "We did it," Nari whispered. "We actually did it," Taman agreed. "I can still feel you sometimes. In my thoughts, little echoes. Same. Think that's permanent?" "Probably. Does it bother you?" Taman smiled. That same cocky smile that started everything. "Nah. Having a princess in my head might keep me from doing really stupid things. I doubt that very much." They emerged from the vault to find a celebration. Yuna hugged Taman so hard his ribs cracked. Dr. Hana was already working with Caltheron scientists, sharing data with an enthusiasm that made her look 20 years younger. Admiral Jiwan had arrived to offer Taman a pardon and a medal he definitely didn't deserve. "The Earth government wants to make you an ambassador," she told him. "You and Princess Nari both. First joint human Caltheron diplomatic position." "Hard pass," Taman said immediately. "Agreed," Nari added. "I spent my life in palaces and ceremony. I'm done with official positions." "Then what will you do?" Unha asked her sister. Nari looked at Taman. "I have no idea. Something reckless, probably. Something fun," Taman agreed. "Something that matters." Obviously. They left Mars 3 weeks later on the repaired ship, with Yuna as pilot, and Minho still handling the technical systems. The galaxy was different now. Safer. 3 civilizations working together instead of preparing for war. The ancient knowledge spreading to hundreds of worlds, solving problems that had seemed impossible. All because a thief and a princess decided that some rules were worth breaking. Nari stood in the observation deck, watching the stars. Taman found her there, 2 cups of terrible coffee in hand. She'd developed a taste for it. Much to Yuna's horror. "Homesick?" he asked, offering her a cup. "No," Nari said, surprised to realize it was true. "I thought I would be. Thought I'd regret leaving everything behind." but I don't. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. On a beat-up salvage ship with a criminal and his crazy co-pilot. On an adventure. With people who see impossible things and try them anyway. She sipped the coffee, made a face, and sipped again. You've ruined me. You know. Made me reckless. Made me human. You're still Caltheron. Am I? I'm not sure what I am anymore. Not fully Caltheron. Not human. Something between. Something new. Something better, maybe. They stood together, watching space scroll past. After a while, Nari spoke again. Do you remember what I said? That first night in the garden? I told you not to take the key, that it would destroy you. I remember. I was right. It did destroy you. The old you. The one who worked alone. Who didn't let anyone get close. Who thought he had to save everyone by himself. She looked at him, but something better grew in its place. Someone who learned to trust. To share burdens. To accept that he doesn't have to be a martyr to matter. And what did it do to you, princess? Destroyed me too. Killed the careful scholar who was afraid of everything. Killed the princess who lived in a cage and called it safety. She smiled. I miss her sometimes. But I don't want to be her again. No regrets? Oh, thousands of regrets. I betrayed my empire. Committed treason. Lost my position. My access to the archives. My comfortable life. I can never go home. Can never be who I was. She turned to face him fully. But I'd do it all again. Every reckless, stupid, impossible choice. Because I'd rather have one real adventure than 1,000 safe years. Now you sound like a human. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Taman set down his coffee and pulled something from his pocket. The infinite key. No longer glowing. Dormant now that its purpose was fulfilled. What should we do with this? Destroy it, Nari said immediately. It's too dangerous. We were lucky. The next people who use it might not be. Or we keep it, use it to help people, carefully. There's no such thing as using it carefully. You know that. Yeah, Taman looked at the crystal, then back at Nari. But you also know that humanity's going to keep climbing. Keep pushing. Keep trying impossible things. Maybe having something this dangerous will remind us to be careful. Or at least to find someone cautious to balance us out when we're not. Someone like a Caltheron princess? Someone exactly like a Caltheron princess. Nari took the key from his hand and walked to the airlock. For a moment, Taman thought she was going to space it. Throw it away where no one could ever use it again. Instead, she locked it in a secure case and set a complex encryption on it. There, she said. If we ever need it, we can open it. Together. But neither of us can access it alone. We balance each other. Keep each other honest. And if we disagree about using it, then we don't use it. Simple. That might mean watching bad things happen. Knowing we could help but choosing not to. That might mean being wise instead of reckless. Learning from 12 extinct civilizations instead of becoming the 13th. She touched his face. Gentle. You taught me to take risks. Let me teach you when not to. Deal. 6 months later, the first human Caltheron embassy opened on a neutral moon. Nari served as cultural advisor, not ambassador. Never ambassador. Taman helped train joint exploration teams, teaching them how to salvage ancient technology without dying. Yuna captained legitimate missions now, though she still missed the days when everything was slightly illegal. The Viridian civilization integrated slowly, carefully, into the new alliance. Their dying star was saved using ancient technology. Their people stopped seeing humans as enemies and started seeing them as strange, reckless friends who occasionally needed to be stopped from killing themselves through excessive optimism. And sometimes, late at night, Taman and Nari would sit in the observation deck and feel the echoes of their merged consciousness. Little whispers of shared thoughts, proof that they'd changed each other, permanently and irrevocably. Do you think this will last? Nari asked one night. The peace? The alliance? Probably not forever. Taman admitted. Nothing does. But we proved something important. We proved that different species can work together when it matters, can trust each other, can become something. Neither could be alone. We proved humans aren't just reckless monsters, and we proved Kaltharan aren't just paranoid cowards. Progress. Lots of it. Nari leaned against him, comfortable in a way she never was in her palace. So what's next? What impossible thing should we try now? Taman's grin was pure trouble. I heard about a dead city on the edge of known space, built by something that might be older than the vault. Dangerous as hell. Probably haunted, definitely stupid to investigate. Sounds perfect. You sure? No regrets about leaving behind your safe, boring life? Nari thought about the princess she used to be. Thought about the scholar who studied the dead instead of living. Thought about the moment in the garden when a human thief offered her the most dangerous gift in the universe. Hope, please don't take it, she remembered whispering, terrified and tempted at the same time. And she remembered his response. That smirk. That absolute confidence that impossible things might just work if you were brave enough to try. No regrets, she said now, matching his smile. Let's go find some new trouble. That's my girl. Don't call me that. Too late, princess. They flew toward the edge of known space, toward new adventures, toward a future that neither species could have built alone. Behind them, 3 civilizations learned to trust each other. Ahead of them, mysteries waited to be solved by someone reckless enough to try. And somewhere deep in the Mars vault, the infinite key rested in its locked case, patient and dreaming, waiting for the day when 2 people who trusted each other might need it again. But that's a different story. This one ended the way all good stories should, with hope, with trust, and with a human and an alien deciding that the universe was more interesting when you faced it together. The rest, as they say, was just details.